Hello everyone, I'm back. I haven't uploaded any videos in a while, but I've been busy timing keys. I'm a 15 resilient, and this is one of the two 16s I've timed so far. As you can see on the map, there's a 1. That's where I tanked the first pull. It's just so I can avoid getting knocked around by Captain Suleiman. Also, my route is a little bit different because I pull a lot of the caster packs, but we managed to complete it. These are my talents. I took 2 points in high tolerance and one in ambulance save. Again, there's a lot of combinations of talents. This is just what I picked for this. And as you can see, I'm at 680.88 item level. I've been farming and grinding a lot of 10s, 11s, and 12s. 37% crit, 15% mastery, 26% versatility. But keep in mind that this is with flask and food, so I'm going to remove it so that you can see it. And my stats drop a little bit, but they're still pretty good. So 33.7 crit, 15% mastery still, and 26% versatility. I managed to upgrade all of my mythic tier sets and a lot of my heroic stuff. I might craft a neck, or well, recraft my 636 neck to 681 like I did for this ring here. So kind of hard to find crit versatility rings this season. I also bought the mythic ritual ring mud with the 3 dinars that I got this week. There's really nothing much I can buy until I start timing mythics, but I really haven't done anything. So that's it for now. And here we go. So since this is still kind of considered a quote-unquote low-key, I didn't skip these footmen. Um, Generally people don't pull those just because they regard them as like low count, because they have that defendability, which means that unless you have a UACC, you can't really take them out of that, and that's less DPS you're doing to them. There I got knocked into a very dangerous area because I could have pulled that other patrol there, but luckily I didn't. So I'm constantly AoE taunting with Black Ox statue, just because these DPSers they do a lot of damage, so they have a really high potential of pulling threat. So I'm constantly keeping an eye on that. One thing that I didn't mention was that I took Black Ox Brew instead of Bob and Weave. So one of the problems that I kept running into was that stagger damage was killing me. So I figured the solution for that would have to be Black Ox Brew. So it's an emergency Purify and Celestial Brew that I can use. And in these high keys, when you're taking a lot of damage, as you can see there, I'm taking 1.5 mil damage per second. 2.5 mil there at 200 plus stagger. So I need to be able to cleanse a lot of that. That's why Black Ox Brew was the only option I could really honestly take. There, as you can see, was you saw I used Ring of Peace to get them away from me so that I can kind of recover a little bit. I was taking way too much damage and I don't have any more defensives. I pretty much used everything at this point. And credits to the healer, because this priest was phenomenal. You're gonna see throughout the run that I do really dumb pulls, and he keeps us alive through all of that. So here you want to pull these footmen up here, just Crackling Jade Thunder, and then you hit these. What you would do is you would pull them to this corner to LOS the casters. And then again, Black Ox statue into AoE taunt. Shuna Chainmail is there, I hit her with the Keg Smash, Fire Breath, and we're rolling. So what I wanted to do here was to have if I had comms, I would have told them to kind of prioritize the sharpshooters, just because as soon as we can get the sharpshooters down, we can start to chain pull more. But the DPS overall was pretty good, as you can see there. Outlaw Rogue and Unholy DK, crazy AoE DPS. The Ellie Shaman was really good too. I think they were just lower item level. I don't know how much that would have affected their DPS, but I think the Unholy DK was like 679, 680, and the Outlaw Rogue was 678. Ellie Shaman was like 673, I think, 64. So again, I mean, I don't know how much of a difference 4 item levels would make, but I can tell you that from 674 to 680 as a Brewmaster, definitely a big change. I didn't record a Cinder Brew 15 that I did, and in that one we timed it with a very good amount of time left. Mind you that before the item level boost, the turbo boost, I was having a lot of trouble with it, but the DPS, they got a lot better because of the boost.
Spread. Crowd control.
They're tossing a random Vivify whenever I can on the priest. And again, keep in mind that this priest is healing like crazy. He's keeping everyone up. Those Lynxes and Chainmail have a bleed dot, so we're constantly getting pummeled by everything. There I decided to touch of death the sharpshooter just to get it out of the way. Those you normally have no control over them, so you gotta make sure that you take them out as soon as you can. There I'm trying to look at the route to make sure that I'm gonna pull the correct things and not overpull. As you can see, the route map is so that you can have exactly 100%, so missing something would be kind of tragic. So I forget here that we have a rogue and I'm trying to wait for them, but ring a piece, get them out of the way, and then we just self-passed. I don't know how necessary it was to ring a piece, but we got it. Now, this is one of the dumb pulls, I'm telling you. I would not recommend you do this unless you have a lot of stops or kicks. Because look at how many casts are going off. I think we actually managed to keep them locked in because we have a decent amount of AoE CC. Between the Ellie Shaman, myself, and I think the Rogue too.
Watch your step.
But what I normally would have done is I would have pulled the 3-pack by the tree into the patrol, because that means it's 3 casters instead of 6 like we have here, and we can manage 3 casters a lot better. So here I'm trying to pull this pack, and as soon as the sharpshooter dies, or the caster dies, we're going to pull into the patrol. So I'm just trying to make sure that we can get them down, and I also let them know that I'm going to go into the pack. So that's something that's important. If you don't have your ping keybound, you might want to keybind the ping, because pings are important. I probably overdo them, but yeah, it's necessary. There I use Ringing Ritual Mud. I might need a weak aura for that just to track how much it absorbs, but it's absorbing close to 17 million damage. If you need a defensive trinket, get it. I don't know how good the combustible bomb suit is, but I know that Ringing Ritual Mud is really good. Not to mention the fact that the cooldown gets reduced every time you have a dot on yourself, so that's pretty great. I wish it would have lowered because of stagger. That probably would have definitely put us up a little bit better, because it's an emergency defensive that you have that you pretty much need. As you'll see later on after the second boss, you really need a good amount of defensives. As you can see there, sometimes I let my stagger kind of stay on the red and not cleanse it immediately. Just because I've been working on my DPS rotation. So that means instead of prioritizing Purifies and Celestials when I don't need them, I'm looking to use Blackout Kick into Blackout Combo for Tiger's Palm damage, right? They're hitting that sharpshooter. I tried to LOS it so that it runs in. Luckily our DK was able to grip it. They're exploding keg to get initial threat on everything, and I'm going to AoE taunt everything whenever I feel like I'm going to lose threat. But right now I feel like I have a very good amount of threat on everything. I'm just letting them know that we need to get that sharpshooter in, so hopefully the DK kind of grips it, but I think it jumps in at a certain point. They're using my Dampen Harm because I'm taking a lot of damage into an AoE stun to kind of give myself some time to recover.
Crowd control. Watch your step. Crowd control.
And again, there I just used Ring of Peace to clear the defend from the footmen. Because remember, they take less damage when they're in that
Crowd control.
stance. And it's why a lot of people don't like to pull footman packs. If they were more efficient, I'm pretty sure more people will pull a lot of those packs that contain them, but really it's not.
Watch your step.
Now the thing about pulling Amia here is that the next mini boss, Dunmo, he's going to run to wherever she's at. So I'm trying to pull her away from the middle of this area because Dunmo will run through the middle and he will pull all those light spawns. So if she dies anywhere on this grassy area, Dunmo is gonna want to run through the grass. And you'll see it right now because you'll see his pathing. We're gonna tank him here. But you see his pathing, he starts to run towards the grass. I cut him off, but he would have ran to where to where Amia died, instead of running down the middle and pulling those two light spawns. Cinder Blast, no interrupt. Luckily, the DK got it, but if anything, the priest would have been able to dispel me, so we would have been okay.
Watch your step.
So as you can see, everybody's DPS is pretty good. I'm not sure why the Ellie Shaman's DPS there was not good. But everybody's doing well. There, the DK played it a little bit too close. And he could have died. But, you know, again, this healer was huge. He was a beast. So we just tank him here. Nothing too special. Interrupts on that. Dodge the Ember Storm. Now, I was going to go pull the boss. But I forgot to pull those in the corner. And luckily somebody pulled it. So we were good. Now, the smart thing about this was that the DK says, oh, we can just tank these to the boss. And I thought about it too, but I was like, it's 2 casters.
Watch your step.
And it might be problematic. But, you know, DK has his grips. So we were fine. And we managed to be okay. Here the priest takes a hit.
Defensive. Watch your step.
But it was like nothing. He was pretty good.
Interrupt.
And here for this boss, you take a lot of damage, so what I would recommend is rotating your defensives. So the way I do it is, whenever I have that magic debuff, I'll use my diffuse magic to get it off. If I notice that the priest isn't dispelling it off me. So I'll get it off with that diffuse magic, and then I'll start spamming my celestial brews. Obviously you want it at 6 stacks to get as many absorbs as you can. There you notice that I got a 7.4 mil absorb from a 6 purify buff celestial brew.
Defensive.
There I used a no purifying brew buff one, and I only got 2.4 mil. So it really makes a difference, right? Even if it's a blackout kick combo celestial brew, probably getting the 4 mil absorb is better than 2.4.
Watch your step.
And that's pretty much all you have to do. You just have to make sure that you rotate your cooldowns, your celestial brews. Make sure that you have a purify for whenever you take a lot of damage. There again, ringing ritual mud. It's practically like 80% of my health. Or there, it was the entire bar of health, right? So it's definitely absorbing more than 16 million. The only thing that I don't like is that it lasts 10 seconds. In comparison to the Molten Furnace trinket from last season, that one lasted, I think it was close to 20. So if the cooldown was a little bit longer, it would have been great. So that's the only downside to it. But if you use it when you're tanking a lot of mobs, it's definitely a good defensive to have. It's a 17 million absorb, so yeah. So that's Dailcry. Now, this is going to be a big pool. As you can see, I'm pinging those 3 packs. What I wanted to do was drop my Blackhawk statue in the middle and aggro everything, but I only aggroed the neophytes. So I had to kind of go in face first into these 2 paladins. And then into the next pack, Exploding Keg. Probably don't do that. Save Exploding Keg for when everything is packed together. But there again, Blackhawk statue, AoE taunt, just making sure that I don't lose threat. You lose threat here, and this is pretty much a wipe. Your DPS are gonna get one shot. Apart from the fact that you're already tanking 3 back-to-back-to-back Sacred Souls. If any of those Templars hit the melee, they're gonna take a huge hit just because they have that holy damage buff, right? Which, speaking of, I don't think the priest got us the buff that you get at the font. So that's probably something that could have definitely helped us pump up more damage. But anyways, we were okay. Healer doing great. They're using my chi burst for damage and for healing. Normally what I think of when I use chi burst for healing is I want to make sure that I have 5 stacks of my stratagem and I aim it at all of the DPS. It's like even if I do no damage with it, the healing that it's providing is great because it can be anywhere upwards of like 6 mil. So like a 6 mil heal is crazy. Like it's probably enough to deter an AoE ability. This pull I kinda took it slow. I was just trying to make sure that these 2 paladins got low before I pulled in the other pack across the hall. Again, you don't want to do too many crazy pulls. You're not a demon hunter who has infinite self-healing, so a lot of these packs will kill you. You are very dependent on your healer. If your healer is not that great, you're definitely not going to time it. Which is something that, again, I've noticed that if the healer isn't doing at least 30 to 35, 34% of their total healing, overall healing on me, I'm not gonna time the key. It's just impossible. I don't have the enough of the sustain for it. Um, it's just the way it is, sadly. Okay, so that's cleared up, and now we go into Baron Braunpyke. I mispronounced his name earlier. Now, again, you want to have everybody stacked. The DK is saying that he's going to take the 3 stacks of the first debuff, right? So that's fine. They can AMS it. Great. You just gotta make sure that you don't take it before Castigator Shield goes off, because Sacrificial Pyre, when you take a hit from it, it does AoE damage. Castigator Shield does AoE damage. If you take it while Castigator Shield is going off or before it goes off, you will wipe your group. So we have to wait to make sure that everybody's okay. Now, this is something that I do here. When he does Vindicator's Wrath, I use Exploding Keg. Exploding Keg reduces the damage you take from melee attacks for the next 3 seconds. So you're basically negating a good amount of damage for 3 seconds while either your defensives come up or the healer gets a shield on you. It's fine. There I'm taking 3. Well, I took 2 there. But you can take 3, and the reason I can take 3 is because, again, we have diffuse magic, right? So that lowers the magic damage we take by 60% for 6 seconds. It's pretty much the longevity of the debuff that you get. So you can either ride out the debuff for a couple of seconds before using diffuse magic, or just take it as is. There again, the DK is going to use his AMS to take the 3 Sacrificial Pyres, and again waiting after Castigator Shield, because you can see we take a lot of damage. And again, here I'm waiting for him to do Vindicator's Wrath because it's about to come up, and as soon as he casts it, I do Exploding Cake. So 3 seconds of no damage. As you can see there, I'm taking very small hits. I was taking 270k hits as opposed to probably 1 million damage per hit, because his physical attacks are also not doing holy damage. So that's something nice to keep in mind. So using Exploding Keg to kind of mitigate a lot of that damage really helps in these. And there you saw why we kind of have to wait for the Castigator Shield to go off. We were all pretty low and we probably could have wiped, so I waited for the last one before taking it. Ringing Ritual Mud, again, the cooldown is dropping fast because we had the debuff on ourselves. So every time we take a dot damage, the debuff lowers. The cooldown lowers, sorry. that's kind of smart to use there. And also, I didn't have any other defensive that I could have probably used. Could have used the Fortifying Brew, but I'm trying to save that since it's in a 6-minute cooldown. There, the DK again, waiting for everybody to take it out. And again, Chi Burst for healing, aiming it always straight at all of my party members to make sure I get the most out of it. Vindicator's Wrath, Exploding Keg, boom. Notice how I'm barely taking any damage. Apart from the fact that I have an Observer on me, like I'm taking no damage. On a 16, those would do a lot of damage. So here I kind of just ping them to kind of ride out the damage on Braunpyke because the Sacrificial Power isn't going to go off anytime soon, and I can Fortifying Brew to execute at 20 mil if I needed to. So I'm spamming Touch of Death there. And easy as that. And it's a new record, so DPS was kind of crazy. And here we go. We move on along with Trash. Okay, and for this section, this is where you pull 2 packs at once, LOS, to make sure that they all kind of run into you. There we gather everyone up. I paralyze that one just so that he doesn't hit anybody. They grip him in. So already the pool is looking a little bit crazy just because I kind of wasn't able to LOS all of the casters. My team ran up before I was able to gather all of them up. But in this section, as you can see, we have roughly about 9 minutes to clear all of this trash and then do the boss, right? So we have to do all of this in 5 minutes, right? Just to have enough time. 4 minutes, 3 minutes and a half should be enough for the boss, but the more time we have, the better, right? So big pulls here, always making sure that these paladins get taken out as fast as possible. Especially when you have a light spawn, you want to AoE taunt them because you have hasty provocation. So you'll drag it out of the light spawn's dying heal. So whenever he reaches 25%, he does burst of light and he heals everybody there. Pretty stupid of me to try to ring a piece these guys out. You can't do that. It doesn't work on paladins. But I was able to taunt them out, so we're good. Oh, we'll pull them out. Now for this next section, we have to do big pulls, right? And again, I'm waiting for the patrol to pass by before I pull these. The priest is drinking while I get these together. There I kind of messed up because I went for an interrupt instead of going for initial aggro. But again, Blackhawk statue, AoE taunt is your pretty much your bread and butter for threat at this point. Now, a lot of people are probably going to say, well, if you're having trouble with threat, then you're not playing the class right. That could be right. I'm not going to dispute with you. I'm not the best Brewmaster. But I also know that Brewmasters have horrible threat generation. Compared to other classes, we suffer from it. And I'm pretty sure tanks in general suffer from it because DPS just do so much damage sometimes that it's kind of hard to keep up with everything, right? So it's probably just like a general flaw in tanks. There I'm trying to let them know that I'm going to pull that pack so that they're all ready. What I would have done is I would have hit them and then LOS behind the pillar to the left. But nobody has time for that right now, right? So, light spawn is dead. Now, we have to make sure that we clear everything before the light spawn dies. If the light spawn dies, it heals them for a lot. And at this point in time, anything getting healed for a lot is pretty much a bricked key. So here, making sure that everything's low, and then I'm gonna pull the next pack. I have 2 defensives. I have 3. Dampen, Harm, Fortifying Brew, and Blackhawk's Brew, right? Again, for the Purifies. We need those. There, I managed to get the Ring of Peace in, but also I think we gripped them, and we lust this. We need to lust this. Braunpyke here is a mini-boss, so we need to get him killed, and also we need to start chain pulling the next section, right? And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is if we can get some damage into this fast. The footmen next to the stairs, they do AoE damage whenever they die, so you have to make sure that we're focused on getting as many of these down staggered, right? Like not at the same time, but you know, within a reasonable time frame. Celestial Brew, 5 mil absorb. I definitely think that the Brew's absorb could probably be a little bit higher, especially since we suffer horribly from small self-healing, right? Like, we can't really keep ourselves up with self-healing, and that kind of sucks. Considering the fact that at 100% stagger there, I was taking like 2 million damage per second. So imagine, like, that's insane. So I wanted a ping to pull all of this into the boss, but we're 5 minutes left, right? So DK's right, don't chain because the priest is out of mana, and we're good on the time. So that's probably one of the big mistakes that we make sometimes is we try to rush things because we feel like we're not gonna time it. Good example of this was a Mechagon 16 that I did that I failed by 10 seconds. Our healer died 4 times in the encounter. Like, that's just absurd. But it is what it is because he wasn't prepared to heal himself up. I think he was either focused on doing damage instead of healing that he wasn't able to keep himself up during the AoE pulls on the last boss. But it is what it is, so I'll be attempting that later on. Now this boss, pretty straightforward. There's really not much that um needs to be said about Murrpray. So we begin. Just make sure that you're interrupting the cast whenever you can, and stay out of the AoE and turn around for blinding lights, right? Now this is where the quote-unquote fun begins, right? So we have to run up here and break the shield so we can interrupt the AoE that she's doing, while also making sure that the neophytes coming up here don't reach us and murder us. Elemental Shaman was crazy with that Earthbind Totem. As you can see, they're losing a lot of damage just by trying to get to us, right? So these come in 2 waves. This first wave pretty much is dead. Go in there for the stun. But as you can see, the Earthbind Totem down there is just taking care of everything. It's doing work. So here, what I could have done is if all of these would have gotten to us, was just drop Ring of Peace on top, right? Like right there, I just dropped it just to, just to do it. Why not, right? I'm not going to use any CC on this. So yeah. And the rest of this is pretty straightforward again. Just turning your back during blinding light, and whenever anybody gets the holy flame, it's just like you kind of move away from it. Whenever anybody gets the ray, you kind of move from it. And at this point, we know that we're gonna time it, right? We have 20% left in a minute and a half. The DPS is doing crazy work. The healer is definitely not gonna let anybody die. There, he got the purified, but he was able to get away from us. AMZ, love it. But this is pretty much timed at this point, And if you look at my count, it's exactly at 100%. So it took me a while to kind of come up with this route, just because I kind of figured that I needed to change it up. I know that a lot of the other routes have a lot of bigger pools, but I really can't do that as a Brewmaster. It's kind of stupid for me to say I know Brewmasters can do it, but again, I'm not one of those top 1% players, I'm just a regular casual. But there it is, timed. That's my second 16 time, so I have 6 left before I can get Resilient 16. 3324 rating, nice. And now for the damage and healing. 2.12 million overall. If you notice in my previous videos, I was sitting at 1.5, 1.3. I don't want to say that 7-8 item levels gave me like a 900k damage boost, but I've been working on my DPS rotation. And as you can see, again, Blackout Kick, Aspect to Harmony Dot, doing all the damage. Well, overwhelming force as well because of Blackout Kick damage too. So it's all pretty even. And as you can see, Celestial Brew absorbing 426 million damage, 20% uptime, kind of crazy. So it's always worth it to use it with Blackout combo, just because you can get a decent amount of absorbs. As you saw there at my 6 stack, I was able to get a 7.4 mil absorb. And just for quick reference, this is the Dispriest healing. As you can see, 34.4% of his healing was towards me. That's how you know that you can time a key with a Brewmaster. Other people are gonna say otherwise, but this is how I know, just based off of how much healing the healer is doing on me. I'll know if I can time a key like within the first couple of pulls. So that's Priority of the Sacred Flame 16. I'll be trying to record more of the next 16s that I do, or if I run 15s, I'll probably upload those two as well, just so I can get more content out there. I hope you guys like the week aura video that I released too. See you in the next one. Bye.